Hi everybody, we are here for another interview of the ILIAS Espresso series. We will drink a coffee today with Sebastian Van Loo. And did I say your name right, Sebastian?
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
because you really live where there's a lot of borders. So it's a little bit Holland, a little bit Germany, or France is very near.
Yeah. And
Because
Belgium. Yeah.
we will talk, of course, about ILIAS open source LMS, that is the European LMS, and discuss with Sebastian about an interesting plugin that they developed in Database. Database was one of the ILIAS providers since the beginning. They are placed near Aachen, that is exactly in the west of Germany. And they deal with really a wide variety of customer, developing a lot of plugins, but also developing the consultancy and the contents. So it's one of the largest, let's say, ILIAS provider in Europe and in the world. So we are very happy that Sebastian could join us. Thank you, Sebastian. Do you want to add something to my
No, for now.
introduction?
Yeah. No, that's right. That's exactly right. About database. Yes.
Okay, great. So you are very young, not like me, but for sure it's quite a long time that you work with Elias, right?
Exactly. Yes. I've been working for database and of course for the ILIAS project accordingly since 6 years now.
Okay,
And
so
yeah.
it's quite a long time.
Yes.
And you were active exactly during the Elias boom, because all over Europe, when we had, let's say, these 2 years of pandemic, there was really a boom about the Elias project.
Yes.
And okay, so what were the main difficulties that you had to front when you were dealing with e-learning, especially now that everybody talks about
Mm.
that?
Yes. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of issues that sometimes surround an e-learning project. I mean, I could go on for like 3 hours without stopping, but there are some major things that I would like to point out here. The first thing is probably that when errors occur in a project, there are always multiple sources for errors. And it's not always ILIAS who is to blame. For example, when SCORM modules don't play rightly or track the learning progress accordingly, often it's rooted in the learning module itself and not in ILIAS. Or when mails don't get sent out by ILIAS, it's because the mail service or the mail server, on the other hand, is not accepting the mails, so the mails are getting sent out by ILIAS. So we actually put the mails into the into the post, so to speak, but they never are getting received. So it's always one of the things that it's always there are always multiple causes for error, and this is also what makes it on the one hand challenging, but on the other hand also quite interesting. And yeah, you get used to kind of analyzing where those errors occur or what is the underlying process. So this is one of the things I would like to point out. What is also, of course, on the other hand, is what I occur or what I see from my projects is that when we have a client or a project partner, we need to have on the other hand, a very clear-cut responsibility and commitment. I usually have problems. It's not, or the project's partners get problems when there is now not a clear-cut person who is in charge or who is taking responsibility. So what I would see is sometimes the projects get bigger and bigger, and we used to have one person or two persons in our call. Now we already have sometimes 4 or 5 people sitting on the client side, but it's more an organizational challenge that they actually keep up. And some clients try to divide it in different, to divide the ILIAS project in different parts. And that makes it very difficult because we have to repeat our consultation multiple times. Things on the client side work very slowly because on the breaking points of the client, the information is not getting fast forwarded and so on. So I would say one challenge is that the client is actually taking some responsibility, and someone is actually taking the hat on and says, I want to do this project. Another challenge, I think, is that what I always tell my clients is that, well, we are kind of together half blind, I would say. Most of the time I don't have any information about what their actual processes look like or what their product look like, what they want to achieve. And they usually have a very clear-cut understanding of what their process would like and what they would like to have. But on the other hand, they don't have any idea what ILIAS can do. And me, on the other hand, I have a full understanding of ILIAS, but I'm blind on the other eye. So I always tell my customers, if we get together correctly, we can look with both eyes, and we can achieve a great product success or great project success. And that the challenge is always to listen exactly what the customer sometimes actually wants instead of what he sometimes infers or tells you about, because sometimes a solution might be a lot easier to find, but you don't want to get stuck in the telling of the customer. And on the other hand, you want to listen exactly to what he wants. So this is also one of the challenges. And the last challenge that I want to point out here is we get more and more data security and validation and certification requests of the whole ILIAS learning management process. So I guess it's actually a good thing, but on the other hand, we don't do any legal consultation, and those issues take more and more time in a project. That's what I have been seeing in the last years.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, I would add that this is an important point. I saw, looking at different European projects, that in Germany there is really a lot of concern about data security and about privacy. And this is not the same sometimes in other European countries, but it's always better when you meet your customer at first that you clarify some of these points. If they have a data protection officer, at least you have to put down some procedure in order not to be completely naked if a control comes. Because one thing is to be legally criticized because you did nothing at all, and one other thing is to be criticized if you did maybe not perfect, since it's still a new field. Especially in Italy, there is always flexibility from this point of view. But you are absolutely right, and we have to underline that the consultancy initial phase is very important. So you have always to talk with the customer. They will start telling you the basic urgent needs, let's say, but in reality, you have to figure out a plan where the urgent needs stay inside, of course, but they need to get a perspective, right? About the project. So now let's talk about exactly the heart of our interview. That is your interactive video plugin, more and more often there is the need to create a layer for interactivity on a video, and video is of course still okay if you use it passively, but if you force the user to interact or to think about more often on what's happening on the video is of course very important. And I have to say, ILIAS is one of the few LMS where you can have interactive video produced inside. I mean, you don't need another authoring system to do that. So Sebastian, if you want to share some information about this plugin, that would be great.
Yes. I'm happy to start. The person that you're going to see, it's probably no surprise. It's I just took your last video, your last interview with Matthias, and I tend to show this object a lot in the initial phase of a project because it actually shows how easy it is to get interactive content, and it's also an open source plugin. So it's actually always kind of a win-win situation. And I usually take it when I lecture or when I have kind of like a first kickoff meeting for ILIAS, I kind of use this this object as an icebreaker.
I will ask you a commission for my presence.
Yeah. So, and the leading project partners of this plugin have been the University of Freiburg and the University of Bern. And there are still currently the software developments running concerning some of the features we will see. I will maybe touch into that later. And what I would like to start is to just show how this interactive video works. And after we have a common understanding of the object, then I can go into the actual settings or the learning progress and all the things that we can actually here set up. So what I did here was just to insert a YouTube link. I could have also uploaded a video or used a Vimeo video link. And what happens then is I just start the video. So now I'm actually going to take the perspective of of a student, of a user. And so it starts off. I deactivated the sound because it would just it would just interrupt with my with my voice.
Right.
And you can actually we see here that's the way I set it up already. Some of the comments I commented here on second 18, and I also inserted a question. We will see that this question will show up shortly. Just a second. So just gonna jump to, so just gonna let it run till second 18. And then here, because I inserted this comment at the second 18, I'm gonna get this comment shown. We can also, of course, set up that all the comments are getting shown right away if we have already some users that have already commented here. And then I can comment here and add another demo comment.
So actually you use the comment function of ILIAS, the internal comment function.
Yes, it's something that the plugin is actually working with. This is not the editor. It's not the tiny MCE editor. It's a so-called CK editor, and it's basically something that is that comes from the plugin itself. So now we kind of have to wait until the moment that I inserted a question.
Okay, so basically you can insert comments in the video and the comments are stored.
Exactly. But I could also set it up that the comments are not being shown at all, or that I cannot comment. What we will see in the later course is that there are a lot of setup options to match it exactly your didactical scenario as you wish. So you can have a lot of customizing, so to speak, in the object itself. These are all things that you can select or deselect in the options. Now I inserted one single choice question on second 40, and now I ask here a very simple question. Who is the general manager of the ILIAS Society? And of course, there are two options. The one is right, the other one is false. And what I do now is, for example, I answer this question wrong. So I check. And what happens now is I get a feedback. Of course, I can also say I don't want feedback, but I get here a feedback to the question, and then I get recommended to jump back. So now I can actually jump back here to the second 0.5 or any other place I have defined when the question has been answered wrong. And now
That's
I jump
very
to
important.
and now I jump to second 5, and now I can run the video again. Of course, if I answer this question correctly.
So you can put question in the content.
Yes.
And also reselect a part of the video to see if the answer is wrong or based on your criteria. What I think it's really interesting is that you can use YouTube video, and you don't need to prepare a video in a special software to add interaction that maybe are graphically more fancy, but then you need to edit. So since there is always the problem of spending time in video editing, I think this is really a brilliant solution, that you take a video and you just add the interaction.
Yes. It's especially in the kickoff phase, when usually the customers we have that the most part is that the creation of content is actually always kind of almost always the bottleneck, and this plugin might provide a good solution for this issue.
Solution, yeah.
And now of course I can here now answer the rightfully. I did not insert a jump mark. I could have also now inserted a jump mark as I just as when you answer the question incorrectly. Now I can check. So this is right. I can close the window and then just
play again.
Play here.
Play it again, send.
Exactly, and then here you can then basically add also here. So here's now the issue about the microphone, and then I can actually also comment here on this at this moment here.
Yeah.
Microphone deactivation is something I always miss too, for example. And what is another great feature of this plugin is that you can also look here at a table of content, and you can actually jump right through your interview questions. So when you have a long video, you can actually point out and
create steps.
Insert steps. So I can jump here right through the question 2 or the question 3, and this jump is of course also implemented into the comments. So if I
That's also very interesting, because very often in institution, but also in corporates, we find that the e-learning modules are sometimes simply a recording of a live session, and maybe it's 1 hour long. Okay, this is of course from a theoretical, a state-of-the-art point of view in e-learning, very wrong. So the ideal is to make short video, to put interaction and so on, but again, you need a lot of time to prepare that. And sometimes in the corporate, they say, yeah, but we don't have time. We recorded the 1 hour training and that's it. So basically, this is really a good solution because it helps to create interaction or chapter inside the video without modifying it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And yeah, you don't have to cut the video in
You
pieces.
don't have to cut them.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yes. And so this is for the first part. So a basic demonstration. What I can also add now um, is also here, I can put an end time, for example, to this comment. I can say, okay, this comment is, for example, goes until second 45. And now I can see here, example, that I'm referring to this interval between 21 and 45 seconds.
And then
just
it disappears.
to clear it, yeah, to clarify exactly.
Okay.
So yeah, the disappearance of the comments is a different thing, which kind of leads us to the setup. So
Okay.
I'm basically done. Of course, we jump back into the demonstration, but with a basic interactive video demonstration, and now we can kind of jump into the multiple options that we have.
Okay.
So what I first would like to start off is we go into here the main tab before we jump into the actual settings. And then I see here in this tab, I see now as a list all the things that have been inserted into this video. And I have 3 types of possible insertions, which we already have seen. The one is comment. The other one is a question. The single the single choice question. And then I can also insert another chapter, for example, when there's question 4. And what is now what I would like now to point out is, for example, we take a look and at the question that I already created here at second 40. And of course, you can also delete certain insertions. So now I edit this question. Well, here we see now what
a lot
this
of
question,
parameters.
exactly what the question looks like. One of the main things for demonstration purposes is the repeat question. So you can actually say, okay, is the question getting shown or repeated? You can then define if it's a mandatory question, compulsory questions, and you can also limit the attempts to 1 answer.
Okay.
Yeah, then we here in the basic question design, I can choose between the single choice. I can also change this into a multiple choice question. And I can also use the so-called reflective question, which is basically only, there's no answer to a reflective question, it just pops up and tells you,
Fill
well,
up a text.
think about it,
Mhm.
this and this issue, if you like to. Of course, I can add images to the question, and then I define which answers are correct, which are incorrect. And here we go then to the feedback. We already seen the basic feedback. So here it's when I answer this question correct, I get a positive feedback. I could have just also inserted a jump label, which I haven't done, but if I want to insert it, then I can jump on or proceed. So you can basically also, if you like to, have some sort of a learning path with right and wrong questions. But this is so this is the same option basically as in the wrong question, where you would say you would infer, if you answer incorrect, you jump back. If you answer correct, you get allowed to proceed. And another feature is here that I have not shown yet is you can also link here some certain things into of the repository, and then you can actually then select or deselect these. I think there's something in the presentation that kind of usually I would get here the whole magazine tree. I think it infers now
Okay.
because it just has, when I checked it this morning, it was correct. Here it's working correctly.
Okay. Okay.
On the wrong feedback, I
Yeah,
can.
we have to remind
Mhm.
that people sometimes don't know that ILIAS has an internal database, and this is a fantastic functionality. So you
Yeah,
can actually create courses or module
yeah,
based on elements that you have.
exactly. When you answer wrong, you can say, well, look at this learning module here, or
Exactly.
look at these
Exactly.
this course here, if you like to. Yeah, and these are the basic options we have in the questions. And
Can
yes,
I make you a question?
sure.
Because one of the defects of other interactive video tools is that basically you create sort of mini SCORM module. So the learning progress is not really sophisticated. So you cannot really put a lot of things. Basically, it's a yes or no or a number. What about with your plugin? I mean, is this connected with the learning progress of ILIAS?
Yes. It's
That's very good.
there are three different options in the learning progress, or basically two. so, it's either deactivated. You can actually say, well, all questions have to be correctly answered, or you just say, okay, well, it's more of a proof that you actually went through the questions. You can choose question answered, and these are the learning progress
Link.
options that
Yeah.
you have. So the learning progress is yeah, quite straightforward to understand.
Yeah. But that's very interesting because then you have a direct link to your learning progresses.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. I don't know, we have Ilario in the background. If there is any question about the plugin that came through from the public, you are very welcome, Ilario, to jump in and
Yes.
say something.
First of all, thank you, Sebastian, for this interview. Yes, we have a question from Stefan, which is asking, what about the video sides on the monitor screen? Can you watch it in full screen modules, for example?
Yes, you can watch it in you can enlarge the video. Yeah. Sometimes we had issues with the popping up, but I think those have been resolved. So here in the large screen monitor, you can actually watch it. Of course, you cannot see then comments. And here, this is currently an issue. So what I see now here is that the question in an overlay is not being shown in the full enlargement. I think this is something that might also be an issue of further development. So
Further development.
my answer is kind of half. Well, you can enlarge it, but you might run into problems.
Yeah, or at least you have to remind the user
Yeah.
that if they see the video
Yeah.
frozen, they have to make a check and see if there is a question to
Yeah, I mean,
answer.
you
But I think it's a
yeah,
good development
yeah. I
point.
mean, you get that the video is getting stopped, so then you might minimize your screen again,
Yeah.
because you cannot run through. But yeah, it's not. It's definitely a point of construction
Okay.
to have it in.
We have another question. We've seen that there are just a couple of options for having your questions, such as single choice, multiple choice, and reflective questions. In ILIAS test, there are more options about questions, probably too many. But do you think you will add other kind of questions in your plugin?
So well, it's definitely possible to insert another question type. So far from a developmental perspective, there is nothing planned or in construction, so to speak. So I think you could use some additional question types. Yeah, but so far, from a development point of view, it was more central to work on the table of comments, table of content, the comments, and the general behavior of the questions themselves. So yeah, I mean, you can imagine, of course, different or new question types, but nothing planned so far.
Yeah, but we have to remind that both ILIAS, I mean the platform that we are using, and also the plugin are open source. So basically, everybody can contribute to the development or ask new things, and database as a service provider can react. And this is one of the big advantage of using an open source software, and especially in the LMS arena, I would say that ILIAS, as you can see, is really, really complete. It has a lot of function, very often even too many for a standard e-learning project, but it's really powerful. You can do really, really many things, as we also saw in the previous ILIAS ESPRESSO interview. And this plugin is, of course, about interaction of the user. Interactivity means interaction. So, Sebastian, I would like to ask you how we know that interaction is gaining importance, but how you see e-learning in the next future? It will dramatically change and abandon text and images, or do you have any opinion about that?
Yeah, I would just like to add one more thing about the question types. You can insert the interactive video into an ILIAS learning module. So this might be one of the workarounds to get more question types
You're
kind
right.
of into the interactive video, but it's only yeah, some sort of
A trick.
workout or workaround. Actually, you're not adding new question types, you're just combining two elements together. Yes, and to get to your the developmental question, I think what we will see in the next 5 years is that e-learning is getting more and more integrated into the DNA of corporations, institutions, and whatever clients we have. It basically gets more weight. I think the teams get bigger on the other hand, which makes the project ownership problem more evident in the future, because we will have uh, teams on the other hand, and not just one person where we can actually smooth out or work with all the issues in one person. And I think from my point of view, it will get more and more organizational functions. It might not be for every corporation, but I think when we incorporate those objects as for example a wiki or a glossar or learning modules, more and more procedures and more implicit knowledge of an corporation can be inserted into ILIAS and passed on. So I think it's this is one of the developmental path that will ILIAS that will be that will come along. And of course there's one other development path in the next year. I see it's more that the learning is becoming more adaptive, and it's also getting more competence based. But these are kind of issues that I'm not actually working on in our team, because we have actually In our team, Constanze Krutsch and Oliver Samuila are working on those kinds of issues more. And it's also these issues about adaptive learning path and competences are not prevalent to any corporation. If you have if you are a productive enterprise and the learning management is only for standardized mandatory
Yeah, the
learnings, then
product and so on.
you're not going into adaptive learning phases. But if then this corporation is also incorporating other divisions, then those issues might become more more important.
I think it's very important to underline that ILIAS offers a basic, or let's say basic, it's quite complete. It does not include a lot of automatic weighing. For example, the European Commission published a new standard about competence in work that is quite complex and is still not implemented in ILIAS, but it's beyond the need of the majority of the corporate. But of course, if you let your customer know about the competence management, they will have it in mind and maybe they will apply it in the future. So we know that this is very important in order to give adaptive learning, so something that works semi-automatically. So this is of course to keep an eye on, and we come to the last part of the interview. Sebastian, you know there is the ILIAS conference in Italy this September, and that ILIAS has a community. So normally it's very easy to meet all the actors of the community and get a network so that you have more opportunity to talk about your training needs. So what do you think about, in general, the ILIAS community and the ILIAS conference?
Yes, I think both. Let's start off with the actual the actual route. Then it's the ILIAS community. I think we have a very great and differentiated communities with a lot of competence and a lot of deep knowledge. I mean, ILIAS is one of the largest open source projects worldwide, and I'm just very happy to be part of the community in this phase that we are in, because it's a growing phase. It's a phase where actually you can there with every major release there are a lot of substantial changes coming, and I think it's just a great it's a great verdienst. How do you say it? It's great
plus point.
It's a great plus point, and it's great it's a great accomplishment of the community to actually come up with releases and to enhance ILIAS from major version to major version. And it's also one of the biggest points that ILIAS is a so well developed learning management that has so many institutional and university users that have been investing for years into ILIAS, and I think that's a great it's just a great project.
A great project, you're right.
And this makes basically the social aspect as well. I mean, the conference is basically apart from the actual lectures, it's a great social event, and you don't have a great social event if you don't have a great community. So I'm always looking a lot forward to meeting people again, or for the first time. And that's why I'm also looking so much forward to September. 2 years having no Yeah, no conference.
You're right.
I'm just really, really happy. It's
And
going
I
to happen.
remember you were very happy that it's in Italy, and we
Yes,
thank you
especially
about that.
I already. Yes, I'm more than happy to go to Italy. Yes, I must admit it.
Okay, so again, to the public, we say that there will be a lot of really learning experts from Europe at the next ILIAS conference. Sebastian, we made a 45 minutes interview. It's really a lot. We thank you very, very much for your time.
Yes.
So if you have nothing to add, I would just remind our public that in 2 weeks we will have another interview that will be slightly different. It will be like a debate, and it will be about the criteria to not to lose good employee, also with the help of continuous training. So let's move a little bit out of the technical items and see the training, as also Sebastian said, as a backbone of our training solution. So I think we have done it for today, and I thank you very much. And of course, we will meet in September, but if anyone has a question to place, they can send it to the ILIAS ESPRESSO organization, and we will route them also to Sebastian. Okay, thank you, Sebastian.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Bye-bye.
Looking
Bye.
forward to meet you soon.